And we're live.
Welcome, everybody, to the 20th episode of the 3IT Guys. With me is the resident guru, Jeremy Like, MIA, but still with us in mind and spirit is Mac Ritter, and I am Daryl Alexander, the Determined. Tonight, we got a couple different vast articles dealing with IT. We're going to start off with Jeremy and his first topic, which is the internet outrage on Friday, 10/21. Take it away for us, Jeremy.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's been a while, but hey, we've got some exciting topics to talk about tonight. As most people that use the internet on a regular basis are aware, there was a major outage on Friday. The cause that's been determined of this outage was the Mirai botnet. So the source code for this botnet was released the first part of October of this year, first part of this month. And this botnet code targets specifically Internet of Things devices. So things like your smart thermostats, your Wi-Fi enabled printers, amongst other things. So, without going into a whole lot of details, let's skip right to the mitigation of this botnet. The United States Computer Emergency Response Team issued a list of things that you can do to prevent infection. And some of these are pretty obvious, but they get lost on most people that are usually in a hurry to set up their new devices and or just don't have a complete grasp on security. So quickly going through their list of things that you can do to mitigate your exposure to this Internet of Things malware. First of all, ensure all default passwords are changed to strong passwords. Have a login of admin with a password of admin or a password of password. You should change that ASAP. Seems like common sense, but many people don't, or they intend to, but they forget to do it. So that is one thing that makes your device extremely vulnerable, because what this Mirai software does is it basically looks for vulnerable devices and it goes through and tries to log into them with default passwords. Next item is update your devices with security patches as soon as they become available. This is just a good practice anyways. But again, many people fail to do so. Item number 3, disable universal plug and play or UPnP on routers unless it's absolutely necessary. In this day and age, spend a few extra minutes configuring things. Don't leave it turned on. If you, with configuring your router, ask a friend, or you can. I'll throw in a shameless plug here. You can call MD Technologies or JL Technical Services, and we'd all be glad to help you get these things set up.
For a small nominal fee.
Exactly. Next item is purchase IoT devices from companies with a reputation for providing secure devices. We are still in the relative infancy of the IoT market, and so do a little research before you lay down that credit card to buy your new IoT devices. A little research can go a long way. The next item says consumers should be aware of the capabilities of the devices and appliances installed in their homes and businesses. If a device comes with a default password or an open Wi-Fi connection, consumers should change the password and only allow it to operate on a home network with a secure Wi-Fi router. I don't believe that needs any further explanation. That seems pretty reasonable. Next item, understand. Go ahead.
I said, unless you're a potato.
Okay, well, let's see. The next item is understand the capabilities of any medical devices intended for at-home use. If the device transmits data or can be operated remotely, it has the potential to be infected. Newsflash, this isn't just home medical devices. That be in our medical system, at least in the United States, are doing a fantastic job of covering up the fact that many medical devices used in hospitals are vulnerable. There are many, many articles available only a Google search away. It could make a person just downright paranoid if they read all of these. But as they say in the security industry, it's not whether you're paranoid, it's whether you're paranoid enough. So, without going so far as to wear my tinfoil hat on the podcast, I'm at least aware of many of these things. Monitor Internet Protocol port 2323 TCP and port 23 TCP for attempts to gain unauthorized control over IoT devices using the network terminal or telnet protocol. So as a default, and older telnet should be accessible from outside your home network. I try not to have telnet turned on any of my devices in my home network because it is insecure and better be safe than sorry. And the last item on their list is look for suspicious traffic on port 48101. Infected devices often attempt to spread malware by using port 48101 to send results to the threat actor. Actor being the person or automated device that is controlling this botnet. So those are the items directly from the U.S. CERT team. Did what I tell you not to do. That was redundant. The United States Computer Emergency Response Team. Yeah, I apologize, everybody. I that's one of my pet peeves is redundancy like that, and I just pet peeve. All right, so go out, do a Google search. I can link the 3 articles that I used as a basis for my little rant here to the show details. Worth a read. An ounce of prevention goes a long way, and if you are at all concerned about the security of any devices on your network, whether IoT devices or any others, it never hurts to consult somebody with a background in security and find out what your risk really is with some of this stuff. So anything to add, Daryl?
Yeah, I wanted to finish that old saying you said, ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure.
Right.
Yeah. And also, for those people out there that think that all your devices you buy, especially IoT devices, you know, they don't automatically update themselves. We're not that close in age of artificial intelligence where these gadgets that people become so hooked on is just updating themselves and taking care of themselves. No, you have to do something. So please be sure to update it. Some of them that have firmware, check for your firmware update to see if that's available, any patches or whatever. You have to check on it. Do your due diligence so that you won't get one of these viruses or infected, and then you will need to call someone like myself or Jeremy.
Right on. I would go to the point of saying that you may want to just go ahead and use your Google Calendar or some other calendaring service. You know, some people use those Apple devices.
I can.
But you know, set yourself up some reminders. You know, get it on your schedule. At least, at a bare minimum, do a check on this once a month. You know, it doesn't take long. You unless you're the exception to the rule, you probably don't have that many devices on your home network. If you're running a business network, well, it may be a little different, but check these things at least once a month. You know, make yourself a little checklist, go through and just do it and save yourself headaches down the road. And with that, I will turn things over to Daryl for his first topic.
Ooh, my first topic is the dark web. Ooh, it's getting Halloween. We are scared. Oh my, oh my, oh my. The dark web. The reason I brung this up, I did some research on it, was because some of the potatoes I interact with thought that, you know, them being able to access it or getting on it or know people that use it, that they were some super suave IT individuals, and they're not. So they're not.
Don't make me joke like that.
What I did was, you know, just did some light research on it. And first place I went that a lot of college professors tell you don't go is the wiki. So I went to the wiki.org /wiki/dark_web. It gave a definition for the dark web. It says the dark web is the World Wide Web content that exists on dark nets, overlay networks which use the public internet, but which requires specific software, configurations, or authorizations to access. The dark web forms a small part of the deep web, the part of the web not indexed by search engines, although sometimes the term deep web is mistakenly used to refer specifically to the dark web. So all those people, dark web, they was only talking about a small portion of what's called the deep web. And it says that, like, only a small percentage of what they call the clear net, or what we know as end users as the World Wide Web and internet, only a small percentage of that is used in comparison to the amount of internet out there. The rest of it is the deep web. So after that, I looked up some terms. Onion land, which is one of the tags they use to navigate through the dark web. The Tor, which is the browser they use, which from the article says is a stripped down version of Firefox, basically. So,
right.
And you have to have special installation and configuration. It does stress that you should use a VPN, and it also stressed that downloading any of this material automatically puts you on a tag with government officials and stuff like that, because it's more nefarious than the internet. But it's so much stuff to find on the regular internet that's nefarious. I'm like, you know, pick your poison.
So you're implying that if you want to download this stuff, you should proceed to your nearest public library or educational institution, so that you're not actually getting tagged at home. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you know, they say use a VPN and use a VPN wherever, and it does stress it that it is done over public domains, public internet. So right. I was like, wow. and they stress setting up VPNs, you know, virtual private networks, and you can get proxies to put you over in Italy, the Netherlands, Greenland, Iceland, whatever. Me as an IT professional, I would say don't waste your time unless you got something applicable that you can add to it or sell on it. Other people seem fascinated by it, especially those that are just fascinated, not actually into nothing, but they just fascinated because they think it's something top secret, CIA,
Right.
I Spy type thing. It stressed one section stressed up was hacking groups on there, and I'm thinking to myself like, I can just Google a hacking forum and get into Hack 5 or something. There's plenty of hacking forums out here, period. Another one, Bitcoin services. And then again, Bitcoin services, you can get Bitcoin services on regular internet. So the biggest difference is the way you got to get to it, the configuration, and potentially placing yourself as a marked target by government officials and cybersecurity experts. So if you want to be foolish enough to do that and you're not a trained IT professional, that's on you. And those pretty silver bracelets might fit you well. But they got botnets, dark net markets, hacking groups and services, fraud services. They even have unverified content, just like the regular internet. They have gambling, guns, chat, blogs, directories, whistleblower forums, all types of stuff. So that's my take on my little study of the dark web, which didn't really inspire me to go any further because I can achieve all that on the regular internet, basically. So you got anything to add?
No. Basically, I know about the dark web and the deep web. Having a background in security, I make a concerted effort not to go to those places. I've had in interactions with students from my day job, my teaching job. I've had interactions with students that have spent time on the dark/deep web, and more power to them. I don't really want to be on the government watch list and have the black helicopters circling over my place of residence. Again, tinfoil hat. So yeah, I mean, tread lightly on that. If you're going to explore, then take precautions, and remove your wristwatch because that might get in the way of those shiny silver bracelets.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's about all I can really add to that. It's something that I find interesting, but at the same time, I believe it to be in my best interest not to go down that rabbit hole.
The rabbit hole is deep, young Padawan.
Right.
Moving on to Jeremy's second topic, which is Wi-Fi setup and configuration services. And I want to say before he even gets started, I found out as of lately that many people do not know how to set up and configure their Wi-Fi, even after they reset it and think they just reset it and everything's the same, and they didn't save their initial configuration files or whatever, and now everything is wide open and unsecure.
Preach it, Brother Daryl.
Wow. Go ahead. Take it away.
Is that overstepping my bounds?
No, you good.
Okay, so I was looking at my news sites that I go to every day during this past week, and I came across an interesting article. So this big box store that shall remain nameless, but I will identify them in that they used to drive around Volkswagen Bugs. not the original Beetles, the newer Bugs, the ones that ruined the car and put the engine in the front. So this competitor came out with a new service that they are targeting to do Wi-Fi configuration and setup services. And so the basic rundown is this. They want to charge you $100 a year or $150 for 2 years of help and $50 per visit. My concern about this is that their typical technicians, if you can call them that, are relatively untrained or just go through in-house training. So my feeling, and I do feel pretty strongly about this, is you can get better value service, a better value service by going with a local business instead of a national chain. They do raise some good points in what they are offering, however. And piggybacking on what Daryl said at the beginning of this topic, they offer some services that are worthy of considering if you're a home user and you aren't like really tech savvy. So services, they set up a router for maximum performance and security. Yeah, I'm going to try to control my laughter on this. Connect your wireless devices. It's 2016. If you can't turn on Wi-Fi on your cell phone and connect it to your router at home, please call me. I will be more than happy to help. Recommend solutions for slow or dead areas. This, my friends, is where Wi-Fi repeaters and access points come in to play, and there is no big secret about these devices.
You let the cat out the bag.
Right. You can get these more than just at your big box store, and in fact, there are a lot more variations of these devices with more configuration options than what your local big box store is going to sell. So, consider your options, do a little research, or call a professional. Hey. All right. Customize advanced settings. They list advanced settings as parental controls and guest networks. Okay, people, I'm going to level with you. Parental controls on home routers are a joke. If you've got children, sit down with your children, educate your children. Expectations are of them. You're the parent, they're the child. Have that talk. Relying on a piece of equipment that you may have spent under $100 on to control all that stuff is a recipe for disaster. And if you haven't heard this speech before, it's about time. Next item on their list of services. Ensure most important devices have Wi-Fi priority. Okay, I'll level with you again. If you really want to have the best performance possible, your devices should be wired if at all possible. The Wi-Fi priority is simply a feature on your router called quality of service. And it's not insanely difficult to set up. It takes a little bit of trial and error on some equipment, but it can be done, and it can be done easier than what they will do for you. Assess current setup and signal strength. Sure, I agree that this is a good idea. You can get a free app for your cell phone, whether on iOS or Android, because nobody uses that other option out of Redmond, Washington on their cell phones anymore. So you can get a phone app that will assist you in doing this. And if you take a few minutes and search on YouTube, you could actually find videos that people will walk you through the process. Or you can call us. All right. The next item, help optimize the placement of your router. So this comes back to the the big box stores having a one router, which in their case is usually a router, switch, and wireless access point all in one unit. One router to rule them all mentality. Yes, I'll give J.R.R. Tolkien rightful credit for ripping that off. But regardless, so sometimes you cannot change the placement of your router. This has to do with wherever the cable or phone company has run the connection in through your exterior wall. Again, this is a situation where if you have a larger home, or if your home is one of those problem areas that you may have an older home that still has lath and plaster, or other things that make Wi-Fi signal difficult to propagate from one end of the house to the other, you may again want to be considering separate routers and wireless access points or repeaters, as the case may be, to make sure that you get good signal throughout your humble abode. Let's see, they provide 1 to 2 years of Wi-Fi support via phone or web. Again, leveling with everybody, the big box and big company support lines are notorious for being bad. They're notorious for having relatively unskilled workers on these lines, and unless you want to drive yourself mad in the process, I would advise you to tread lightly with these options. So with all that being said, both JL Technical Services and MD Technologies would be happy to assist anybody in the Tri-County, Michigan area, Ingham, Eaton, and Clinton counties. If you would like to have something like this done, and talk to an expert. Don't just rely on your big box stores. Typically, you'll get something done quicker, at lower cost, and with better results if you go with a more local business rather than a national chain. There are exceptions to this rule at times, but for this type of service, I cannot recommend to perform this type of service. So
you heard first from the guru.
That's the end of my rant on this topic. Would you like to add anything after my shameless plugs there?
I just want to add, as Jeremy said, or sometimes you can't move your router, or a lot of people have the all-in-one gateway, the modem and the router coming from the company and paying that monthly surcharge, when in fact, if you just go out and purchase a small home router and a switch, you can use Ethernet and kind of move it or center it to the house so that the signal is distributed evenly, and you don't have to worry about them putting it in the back corner and you wonder why you can't get it on the front porch. Right. And if that's the case, as he said, the access points or the repeaters may be necessary, but just some common sense and you'll be good to go. you know, that's what I got to add with that.
Good deal.
My second topic is high-powered wireless charging. I remember a couple years back, some company came out with the charging pad where you just come in and toss your phone or whatever on the pad and it charges it up with whatever technology that was, near field or low something or another. You remember what technology that was called?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I know my Nexus 6 has it.
Right.
I do have one of those wireless charging bases.
Yeah. So for some reason or another, I still see tons of people trying to carry that USB charging thing to plug into a computer or plug into a wall adapter, and they just carry this cord around even in their houses to different areas of the houses. But it didn't take off as big as they thought. But now they have went bigger in the industry. I read an article. Wireless charging up until now usually means charging via a pad rather than via wires and cables. But if you ask the team from Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, wireless charging can also be done a distance away. The team recently demonstrated a prototype of a new dipole coil resonance system, DCRS, that can wirelessly power devices up to 15 feet away. The DCRS system achieves this using a magnetic field and is apparently powerful enough to charge up to 40 mobile phones and can even power large devices like a TV. So that being a prototype, if it come out, you could put this relatively in your house and just come in and your devices start, your phone just start charging, you know. Right. I'm not for sure, you know, you have some people that's kind of scared of electromagnetic waves and magnetic fields and things of such, saying it causes memory loss and cancer and whatnot. However, I'm pretty sure that they would have to meet some type of industry standard on health and safety. So, but the prototype seems pretty promising, and it's probably something I would want to play around with, so I don't have to worry about carrying cords. I actually had, like, in a 2-year period, about 3 charging cords go bad, whether they got shorts or frayed on the inside or whatever, or the little prongs on the inside got bent or whatever. So, you know, that would be just help a ton, especially with mobile phones, because the charging ports is one of the biggest point of failures on phones because of whether they're not secure enough or neglect. People try to use them while they're charging and stuff like that.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I'm looking forward to see it come out, you know, for commercial use sometime soon.
All right.
What your third topic?
Okay, my third topic. This is more of a product review type of thing.
We love those.
So I guess earlier this year, I came across an ad for a product called Airtable. And so what Airtable is you can think of it sort of like a cross between a database like Microsoft Access, so more of a personal database, and a spreadsheet. It's pretty easy to use. I played with it a little bit at the beginning and you know, sort of had to put it back on the back burner because of other things going on in my life. But yesterday I fired it back up and started working on a project that I had originally started in a spreadsheet. I haven't got my data migrated over into it at this point, but I thought I would at least show it here tonight and give people an idea of what it's capable of.
Get her done.
If this works properly, I will be sharing my other screen and we can take a look. Can you see it?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, let me, your screen sharing present to everyone. All right. So this is the web interface of Airtable, and you can do various things. They've got some templates that you can use and modify, or you can create a new database. It also has the idea of teams, so you can have team collaboration on projects. Once I get my firmware update project a little bit further along, I will probably open that up to a few people for some team collaboration. But right now I'm trying to get it just set up and get some basics entered in. So there's also for PC and Mac, there is a desktop application. So the desktop application looks very, very similar. I just switched over. Looks very similar to the web page. So again, there's a web page and there's a desktop app. So not going to go into a lot of detail on this, but I'll give people a first look at what I'm working on this little project. And first of the year, I will have it developed to a point where I feel comfortable sharing it. So my thought has been for a while that there needs to be a way to track firmware updates coming out for different devices. So in this firmware update project I started, I've got a table for brands, and I've got 10 in here right now. This will expand in time. There's a table for products. Again, like I mentioned, I don't quite have things entered in here yet. A category, so router, wireless access point, network attached storage. Again, more categories will be added at a later time. And then I've got a firmware tracker tab that will sort of bring things together. So I could enter a name just for the sake of demonstration purposes. Let's just play with this a little bit. We'll call this demo item 1. And so if I go here to category, I can click this plus button and it'll bring me up a window. Let's say that this is going to be a router. I can enter notes. I can enter attachments such as pictures or anything of that nature. And then it's got a product field here. Again, this is very early in my playing around with this idea, but I've got this vision for this being something useful. One of the things that really kind of needs to happen, in my opinion, again, this is just my opinion, and based on my years of experience and having bought devices that have been, in my opinion, discontinued too early, this will allow people to be able to track by product or by company how many firmware updates are being released for a given product or version of a product before it's being discontinued. Based on that data, then people can make a more informed decision on, do I really want to buy a product from a company that's only going to issue 3 updates and then discontinue this product? Or do I want to spend a few more dollars and go for another brand that tends to support their products longer? So that's kind of my intent. I'm going to turn off screen sharing here. That's kind of my intent with this project. Again, this is sort of a little hobby type project. I'm not terribly interested in software development necessarily, but at the same time, this may go from something being implemented in Airtable as more of a prototype or early version to becoming something else. I have not found anything out there currently, and now watch 2 weeks from now, something will pop up. I've not found anything out there currently that offers this kind of tracking, mostly because it's kind of a nightmare collecting the data from all the different manufacturers. Piece that I have not worked out yet. And that piece, if I do work it out and come up with a solution to that, I will probably not share it. I will probably try to build a product around it instead. But with all these Internet of Things devices coming out, you've got wireless printers, you've got switches to turn devices on and off. You've got all kinds of things that are network enabled these days. I believe that there should be a way to track how well a manufacturer supports those devices that they're dumping on the market. And if it comes down to it, then it's fuel for calling them out on their BS and screwing customers. Because in all honesty, that's the way some of these companies operate. They put stuff out so quickly, they decide, oh, well, there's a hardware defect that we didn't catch before the first production run, so we're going to revise the hardware version and discontinue the initial version and only support the new version. And anybody that bought the original version, well, you're just SOL. So this needs to be curtailed to some level, and people need to know that this does happen, and make their decisions a little more informed. So anyways, that's my little review of Airtable and my little project that I've started with it. We'll probably revisit this later on in another episode and see where it goes.
Beautiful.
With that, Derek, questions or comments on that?
Nope. I'm looking forward to playing with it myself. I know you sent me an invite a while ago, so I got a couple things I can introduce as a database format and see what else it has. I've seen it had an art gallery thing too, so that's something that grabbed my attention and interest also.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right, then I'll let you go on to your last topic of the night.
Well, I pondered for a couple days on what my last topic was going to be, and for some reason I was coming in from outdoors and this just beautiful, elaborate commercial came on, and it was for the Pixel. And I said, I'm going to do that because Jeremy's an Android guy, Matt is an Apple guy, and it's a Google phone. And it's better than that one phone that we won't mention. That was out for about 4 months.
Yeah.
So I started doing my research on it, and I got this one from popularmechanics.com/technology/gadgets, Google phone, Pixel, Android, hyphenated. They announced their Google phone like back in October 4th this year, and everyone was like, why it took so long. And the article says that the biggest problem is fragmentation because Google doesn't make the phones that runs its operating system. It doesn't have control over many of the things that Apple does. When Google releases an Android update, for example, It's the phone makers that tweak it for the hardware and push it out. Everything becomes a cooperative process, one that's complicated and takes time. Companies messing with Android over the years has created an unruly mess that makes it nearly impossible for Google to have any resemblance of control. Now, keep in mind, Google came with the hard push on the Chrome tablets, and
Right.
they have cornered the market, especially with all the extra amenities that come with having a Google account, Google Docs, Google Spreadsheets, Google Drive, Google Hangout, Google Finances. So this phone has some pretty good amenities also. The first being unlimited storage for all your photos and videos. It's the first phone with Google Assistant built in. Has the highest rated smartphone camera. It has a battery that lasts all day. So they are becoming proprietary in their products, but it's more user friendly and more cost effective to me than Apple. So now I think the race is on by coming with this phone. The race is on because it has VR capabilities. For those that don't know, that's virtual reality capabilities. And as you know, what was it? PlayStation came out with the affordable VR stuff. So,
Yep.
you get you a Google phone and got a PlayStation, you can start doing your own virtual reality stuff. The camera stuff, it has what else it has? Unlock fast with pixel imprint, seamless glass aluminum body. Has a battery that lasts all day and charge fast. Get up to 7 hours of battery life in just 15 minutes. And I'm like, I charged my phone 15 minutes and it moved 2% on the battery bar.
Right.
It has a brilliant AMOLED screen with true blacks in 16.77 million colors. So if that ain't virtual enough for you, I don't know what is. And they have 3 colors. Let's see. It comes in, quiet
Blue,
black,
and white.
berry silver, or really blue.
Right. Which is basically black, blue, and white.
So I'm curious to see. I don't know which one of us 3 is gonna get a Google phone. I do know that in previous podcasts we have talked about waiting till that second generation come out, so the first generation get all the bugs fixed. So that still, might be on there. The Google Pixel XL has a 4 gigs of RAM, Snapdragon. It has a Li-ion 3450 mAh battery. And it looks outstanding. It says release October 16th, Android OS version 7.1, which is the Snapdragon, I believe. Or nope. It's some weird name. And man, it has a lot of stuff, and also it has the Google platform behind it. So is this something you might be looking into in the future, Jeremy?
I'm intrigued by the phones. I see this as sort of the continuation of the Nexus phones. So
Okay.
let me back up just a minute on a couple things here. The article that you looked at was published before the phones came out. They have been released now. Yep. They have got pretty decent reviews. The one downfall I see is that they're only on the Big Red cell phone company right now.
Yeah, that's kind of they locked in on that contract.
I'm looking to leave Big Red next year when my contract is up. I don't know if this will be enough to sway me to stay with Big Red. Can you tell I don't want to name drop? But so there's a few things that make these cool. Google has more control over the update process, which so if you look at the history of the smartphones, you can see some parallels with the computer industry. So Apple continued with their Mac model and applied that to cell phones. Yeah. They control everything, the hardware, the software, the updates, etc. Google took the Microsoft approach and tried to get it out there everywhere it could, and as a result, it's bit them in the hind parts as far as updates. So they have taken Microsoft's model and they have repeated Microsoft's mistakes. So the Pixel phones, in my estimation, tries to sort of find a middle ground. A lot of the articles I had read prior to the release of the phone really called this the continuation of the Nexus program, only with Google taking more control over the design and manufacturing of the phones. They are still outsourcing the manufacturing, but there is speculation, and I haven't seen verification at this point, but speculation anyways, that Google may follow Apple's lead and start doing custom ARM processors for their Pixel line of phones. With that being said, that information coupled with them being married to Big Red at this point, hopefully they will get an annulment or a divorce later on next year. I'm trying to be sort of humorous in this, but if the second generation Pixel phones come out and they have more customizations, that is when I could see myself really getting involved with a Pixel phone. At this point, there are some pretty significant changes, especially with the update process that has come out with Android 7.0, putting more control back in Google's hands. I think that's a great thing. The problem before was multifold. Google would release an update. It had to be customized for each phone model by the phone manufacturers. And then it had to go through quality checking by the wireless providers before it would actually end phone. And the one big complaint I've had about Big Red, or one of several complaints, but one of the biggest complaints I've had about Big Red is that they were the bottleneck in the process to getting updates to my phones.
Wow.
So this, I think, is a step forward. I think it's cool that Google is layering on some exclusivities to the Pixel, like the Google Assistant. And so, this is definitely on my radar. It's something I'm going to watch. Hopefully they won't have the problems that plagued that Korean company with phones exploding or catching on fire. And they will get off to a good start.
Quick side note.
Yes.
With the recall of that entire product line and the introduction of this into the mobile communications world, do you think they'll be able to rebound with something competitive?
That that remains to be seen. I'm hoping that people view this as what it is and is a manufacturing problem or design problem with that particular company from Korea, and not every Android phone from other manufacturers is going to have similar problems. You know, at the same time, it's going to be enough for some people that, you know, especially those people that don't want to do their research. It's going to be enough to drive them to at least consider Apple products for their next phone. That's not to say that that's necessarily a bad thing. Myself, most of the IT professionals I know, I mean, you know, Mac, the amateur being the exception to the rule. Hi, Mac. You know, most IT professionals that I know personally are Android users, because traditionally Android has offered more ability for professionals to tinker and install apps that would help them do their jobs. With iOS phones, the iPhones, you see some of that, but they don't necessarily have the full range of capabilities that the Android counterpart to those applications would have.
Well, it'll only take 10 years to get an app in their store, so.
Right. And you know, it's in part, like you said, due to the approval process that Apple has in place. It's also in part to the limitations that Apple has imposed on types of applications and how they can interact with the hardware of the phone.
Right.
So, you know, I'm going to be an Android guy, and until you pry it from my cold dead hands, you may be able to pay me enough to use an iPhone long enough to do a review or something on it. But as far as a long-term user of that product, it's very unlikely to happen. So, you know, that's just the way it is. If I've got apps that I rely on Android that are just not available or are crippled in their iOS versions, you're not going to get me to switch. To, you know, slip some dead presidents to me and, grease the wheels to get me to consider using an iPhone for any extended length of time.
I found this other article for the Pixel XL. It says the platform is the Android version 7.1, the Nougat version. Chipset is the Qualcomm Snapdragon 821. CPU is a quad-core Cryo, and the GPU is a Adreno 530. So it's coming equipped. That's interesting too. What type of apps will you be able to use on that? I mean, Google has a lot of their own apps, but like you said, your own personal apps or whatever, will they be interchangeable on that, I guess?
Well, it's still running Android. It's going to run, I mean, all the apps that I've been talking about are stuff out of the Play Store.
Android. Okay. All right.
So, you know, the big thing is that they're more techie friendly apps. And, a lot of them just aren't available on iOS.
They did make a mistake of iPhone. They did keep the 3.5 millimeter jack.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
The other thing that I saw recently, and I believe it's Pixel line, is that they have with the fingerprint scanner, they have there is available in the Play Store an app that will allow you to use the fingerprint scanner on the back of the phone as a shutter button for your camera in the phone.
Wow.
So I thought that was kind of an interesting idea. I know that this app is reported to not work on all Android phones with a fingerprint reader, but it's in an early stage of the rollout of the app, and the developers intend to add support for additional models as they go on. But I thought that was kind of an interesting idea that you could just hold your phone and just tap the back of it instead of having to hold it in front of you and then tap a button on on the front side of it. So that'll be interesting to see how something like that plays out. But with a platform like the Pixel, where the hardware is a little bit more controlled, I would see that being as something that the developers would want to support if that's not on the supported list already.
Right.
So just something that I saw. I'm not sure exactly where I saw that, but as I've said many times before on the podcast, Google it.
There you go.
So, all right, that's I guess all my 2 cents worth. Well, I probably gave you 75 cents worth of information there, but that's all I've got for tonight. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, our standard disclaimer that any products we have reviewed or mentioned our understanding on, we are not getting paid. We are not paid sponsors of them. We do this of our own free will and volition. And if anyone wants to sponsor their products, feel free to contact us. Give us a like on our Google account and on our YouTube account, and look forward to hearing more from us.
All right.
Take us out, Jeremy.
All right. For the 3IT podcast, this is Jeremy Like with Daryl Alexander, who's not paying attention, signing out, and we will see you next week. Have a good night, everybody.